Did you know that Liverpool have already scored more counter-attacking goals this season than in the last 4 campaigns combined? So far, we're on 10 goals from counters, and the only time we've scored more was during our Premier League winning season in 2020 when we hit 11. Now, that might surprise some people, especially with all the talk about Arne Slot bringing more control and patient build-up to the team. But one of the biggest reasons for his successful start at Anfield is how he's built on some of Jurgen Klopp's key principles. One of those is rest attack, and the images you see on your screen right now, they're a big part of why we're scoring more counter-attacking goals. Now you might be wondering, what exactly does rest attack mean? It almost sounds like something from basketball or another sport, right? Well, that's exactly what we're here to break down today. We'll explain what rest attack is, how it was always a crucial part of Liverpool's game, and how Arne Slot is using it to dismantle the opposition. So, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and let's jump straight into the video. Now guys, even if you're not that into tactics, you've probably heard the term rest defense being thrown around, right? For those who haven't, it refers to how a team sets itself up to handle transitions when they lose possession. For example, you can see our player circulating possession in Palace's half here. The way Ibrahima Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Tsimikas, and even Gravenberch position themselves in this moment, that's what we call the rest defense structure. So, the second we lose the ball, these guys are already in place to either defend their zones or counter-press immediately. But what does this have to do with rest attack, which is today's topic? Well, rest attack is essentially the attacking counterpart to rest defense. Instead of focusing on how the team prepares defensively after losing the ball, rest attack is about setting up offensively to exploit openings the moment possession is regained. Simply put, it's defending with attack in mind. Now, this isn't some brand new concept in football, it's always been there. It just doesn't get talked about as much as it should. And it's definitely not something unfamiliar to Liverpool. In fact, Jurgen Klopp implemented it during his time at the club, and Arne Slot has not only kept it, but also built on it. When talking about rest attack, you can split the players into 2 groups. The first group consists of those who are close to the ball. Their main job is to do the defensive work, whether that's making tackles, interceptions, or cutting off passing lanes. But this group isn't just made up of defenders. You also need connectors, players who can take the ball under pressure and link defense to attack with accurate passes. These can be defenders or midfielders involved in the defensive phase. The second group is made up of players who are farther from the ball. Their role is to identify weak spots in the opposition's shape and position themselves to launch a counter-attack the moment possession is regained. Now, it's not saying that these players do not get involved defensively, but they are more passive than the other group of players. A perfect example of this, Roberto Firmino's goal against Norwich in that wild 5-4 win back in 2015. Let's break it down. In this situation, Norwich had just gone long from a goal kick. Right away, you can see the 2 sets of players we talked about earlier. The first group, those near the ball, are 8 in this instance working to defend the attack. Meanwhile, Firmino and Lallana stayed high up the pitch. This positioning gave Liverpool a better chance of winning the ball back, with 8 players against Norwich's 5. Plus, Bobby and Lallana's positioning helped pin their defenders back, limiting their options. Now, look at what happened once the clearance was made, and Milner won the header. This rest attack shape was crucial. Firmino occupied both Norwich centre-backs, while Lallana dropped deep, pulling another defender with him and creating space for Milner to attack. And what happened next? Lallana provided the assist for Firmino to score our 3rd goal. Another example you guys will absolutely love is our 7th goal from that historic 7-0 win against Manchester United. And guess what? Bobby scored this one too. This goal also proves that rest attack isn't just useful when defending deep. Players can also position themselves in dangerous areas during or right after pressing high. Let us show you an example. In this case, you can see our usual 4-3-3 pressing structure as United try to play out from the back. Once again, you can clearly see the 2 groups of players we talked about earlier. The midfield trio, who are close to the ball, are working to win it back, with Jones and Milner pressing aggressively, while Bajcetic cuts the passing lane and intercepts. Meanwhile, the players farther from the ball, Firmino, Jota, and Salah, stay high and narrow, each occupying specific areas. This positioning gives Bajcetic, our connector in this instance, multiple passing options to quickly turn the turnover into a dangerous opportunity. It also creates a 5-3 numerical advantage in midfield, meaning if the ball lands there, our players are in a perfect position to capitalize. And that's exactly what happened. Bajcetic found Jones, who then set up Salah in a dangerous position, leading to our 7th goal finished off by Firmino. As we mentioned earlier, this isn't something entirely new. It's been a key pillar of Jurgen Klopp's heavy metal football. Whether whether it's turning deep defense into attack, or giving players the best conditions to capitalize on high turnovers from our famous pressing system. But here's the thing, Liverpool have already scored 10 counter-attacking goals this season, a number we failed to reach in the last 4 campaigns. So it's clear that Arne Slot has taken this aspect of our game to another level, right? That's true. But how exactly has he done it? What's making us more dangerous in transition? Well, we gave you a hint at the start of the video, but let's dive deeper and analyze some goals to see what's really happening. And what better place to start than Salah's brilliant goal against Bournemouth? Here, Bournemouth were on the attack, and if we bring back the rest defense concept we talked about earlier, you can see how their backline remained narrow, with both centre-backs protecting central areas. This is standard for most teams in possession. The back 3 or 4 usually stay compact to defend central spaces, since those areas are the most dangerous in transition. Now, look at our frontline players. Just like in the 7th goal against United that we analysed earlier, they're positioned to occupy all 3 central lanes. But what's really interesting here is Salah's positioning. While both Diaz and Nunez were tracking back to support the defense, Salah was simply walking, staying wide and outside of Bournemouth's rest defense structure. Why? Because as we just explained, these wide areas are less protected. So once we regain possession or get Salah on the ball, he has a direct route into the opposition's defensive third. Again, by occupying different central zones, we created a numerical advantage in midfield the moment we won the ball back. From there, the connectors had one job, find the right pass. In this case, it was Nunez who received it, launched the counter and set up our second goal of the evening. In another game leading up to our second goal against Leverkusen, we see the same pattern. Salah positioned high and right on the edge of Bayer's rest defense structure. The moment we win the ball back, he has all the space to run into. And even though the pass played to him was slightly behind, he still had enough time to recover, link up with a teammate, and deliver a perfect cross for Diaz to score. A similar thing happened against West Ham, except this time Salah produced a moment of magic, cutting centrally to slice through the Hammers' defense before assisting Jota. And against Milan, while he wasn't directly involved in our third goal, you can once again see his high and wide positioning playing a key role. Now, is it as simple as just keeping Salah high and on the edge of the opponent's rest defense? Absolutely not. It's just one of the tools we're using, and for good reason. Salah is arguably one of the most dangerous players in transition, so having him positioned that high fits perfectly with the high risk, high reward strategy Arne Slot is implementing. And to balance that risk, players like Ibrahima Konate and Ryan Gravenberch provide the necessary cover for Trent when Salah drifts higher up the pitch. But again, that's not the only reason behind our devastating counter-attacking play. The way our other forwards and midfielders position themselves is just as crucial. Their movement helps us win second balls and create numerical superiority in dangerous areas the moment we recover possession. And let's not forget, Slot's patient build-up and added control also play a huge role. Not only are we now picking the right moments to trigger transitions, but by keeping more possession, our players stay fresher when those chances arise. That way, every counter-attack feels like a penalty kick, and that's exactly why we've already scored 10 league goals from counters this season. So, there you have it. Rest attack has been a key part of Liverpool's counter-attacking success this season, and under Arne Slot, we're seeing it taken to another level. From Salah's positioning to the way our midfield and forwards set up to win second balls, everything is working together to make us more dangerous in transition. With 10 counter-attacking goals already and plenty of football still to be played, who knows how many more we'll rack up by the end of the season. One thing's for sure, Liverpool's ability to strike fast and punish teams on the break is back in full force. So what do you think? Do you agree that Slot is making our transition threat better by using a dangerous player like Salah in that fashion? Or is it a risky approach that will eventually haunt us back? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons for more content.